განსაკუთრებულ მადლობას ვუხდი ლიეტუვას პრეზიდენტს ბატონ გიტანას ნაუსედას, რომლის ინიციატივით განხორციელდა 4 ნორდიკული ქვეყნის, ჩვენი 4 მეგობრის, ლიეტუვას, ლატვიის, ესტონეთისა და ისლანდიის საგარეო საქმეთა მინისტრების დღევანდელი ვიზიტი საქართველოში. საქართველოს ევროპული მომავლისთვის ეს არის უმნიშვნელოვანესი სიგნალი მათი დღეს აქ ჩამოსვლა და ჩვენთვის მხარდაჭერა, რისთვისაც მე ვარ მადლობელი და ვარ მადლობელი ყველა იმ ადამიანის სახელით, რომელიც გარეთ იდგა ამდენი დღე. მე დღეს ჩვენ ვისაუბრეთ იმის შესახებ, თუ რა მძიმე არის ის წერტილი დასმული, რაც დაისვა გუშინდელი გადაწყვეტილებით, გუშინდელი 84 ადამიანის მიერ კენჭის ყრით. მძიმე წერტილი იმ ხელისუფლების განაცხადისთვის, რომელსაც ჰქონდა როგორც განაცხადი, რომ ევროპულ გზაზე მივდიოდით. ეს არის წერტილი, რომელიც აჩვენებს, რომ ხელისუფლებამ არ მოისმინა არც თავისი ხალხის ხმა, არც თავისი მეგობრების რჩევები, არც არავის გაფრთხილება და თავის გზას შეუდგა. ეს არის გზა, მცდელობა ყოველ შემთხვევაში, რომ საქართველო, რომელიც იდგა მყარად შუა გზაზე კანდიდატის სტატუსის მიღების შემდეგ და გაწევრიანების მოლაპარაკებების გახსნის მოლოდინში, რომ ამ შუა გზიდან, ამ ძალიან სერიოზულ გზიდან გადაყვანილი ყოფილიყო და დაბრუნებულ ყოფილიყო წარსულში. ეს მცდელობა და ეს არის მცდელობა, რომელსაც ხალხმა, საქართველოს საზოგადოებამ უპასუხა 30 დღით პრაქტიკულად, 30 დღის ყოველდღიურ გამოსვლებით და თავისი პოზიციის დაფიქსირებით. ეს იმას ამტკიცებს, რომ ის ციფრები, რომელზედაც ყველანი ვსაუბრობდით, რომ 80 თუ 85% ჩვენი საზოგადოების მხარს უჭერს ევროპულ მომავალს, არ იყო მხოლოდ ციფრები და ეს არის ის რეალობა, რასაც ჩვენ ვუყურებთ ყოველდღიურად.
Facing on everyday basis in our streets and with what we can indeed each and every one of us can be proud of. This is the testament to also that this society indeed stands on the values which are European values, democracy, freedom, and the value which is the European value in itself and has always been, and for which the Georgia has been always fighting for independence. And that this society with this belief will never go back to the Russian hands. We also discussed what should our next steps be. I clearly explained to our friends that in no way with my veto will not enter in a fake, artificial, misleading discussions. No and never. Because I will not betray the spirit that is in this country today, that needs to be furthered. I will be the person that will open this road, and I will not block this road to go forth. This message will be delivered from the mouth of our friends to everyone where it is needed, so that no one thinks that Georgia president can be used by this government, for the face of this government to be saved. This issue is not on the agenda today. On the agenda today is this following issue: how to save Georgia. For this, I have also familiarized our friends and partners, our future plans, how the European platform should look like, upon which I have been working on in the scope of a couple of weeks, that is already formed, and I will officially present to our citizens. But everyone knows that this is the unison of decision that will bring Georgia to elections in unified form, and with the election will return Georgia on the right course. The nearest decisions to mobilize for the free elections that we will indeed win for us to bring Georgia to the other end, to the European future. I would like to thank once again our friends that are our friends from day one that the Georgia gained its independence, who are helping us on a daily basis, basically, who gave us this opportunity for us to receive visa liberalization, association agreement, and candidate status at the last. And I am sure, and I know that they will be by our side when we will return to our rightful path. Thank you very much.
Lithuania.
Thank you so much, Madam President. We came to Georgia as your closest friends. Friends who care about Georgia and its people, who care about Georgia's European future. In recent weeks, Georgia has been once again featuring media headlines because of the highly controversial foreign influence law that has been pushed through the Georgian parliament, because of the completely unacceptable use of force against the protesters, because of the orchestrated intimidation campaign against Georgia's non-governmental organizations and activists, but also because of remarkable resilience its people have shown, undeterred by violence and intimidation, not misled by anti-Western propaganda, making their European aspirations visible and heard time and time again. In free world, the rule of law, human rights, fundamental freedoms, as well as civil society are all critical assets and not a liability. It is only non-democratic regimes that see their suppression as the way to preserve power. I sincerely hope Georgia will not find itself on a slippery slope in that direction. The first objective of us coming here, thus, is to express our support and solidarity with everyone who fights for Georgia's democratic and European choice, for Georgia's European future. This future belongs to Georgian people, and it should not be captured by anyone. Our second objective is to pass a very clear message to the representatives of the ruling party, both in the parliament and in the government, of the risks and severe consequences Georgia will be facing if they continue on this very dangerous course. Georgia has already achieved a lot on its EU integration path. You have never been as close to the start of EU accession negotiations as you have come last December, after the European Council took a decision to grant Georgia the candidate status on the understanding that it thoroughly implements remaining recommendations. However, neither the achievements of the past nor those of the future can be taken for granted. It took many years, lots of efforts, but everything can be lost in just one blink. Our duty is to tell those things to you as they are. Let me be very clear. The adoption of the Foreign Agents Law, as well as continued repression against Georgia's civil society, will stop Georgia's further progress on EU and NATO path. If this happens, responsibility will lie squarely on Georgia's government. However, it is still not too late. We have heard from the Madam President that she plans to veto the law, and this will offer a way out opportunity for the government, withdrawing this unfortunate legislative initiative altogether. There should be no illusions that cosmetic amendments to this law may make it democracy or EU-proof. This law is not compatible with European choice. You cannot fix something that is fundamentally broken. It is our genuine interest to help Georgia to make its European journey until its final destination. Georgia belongs to Europe. As late Prime Minister of Georgia, Zurab Zhvania, said in his speech in Strasbourg when Georgia joined the Council of Europe, I am Georgian, and therefore I'm European. And yes, you are.
Estonეთის Რესპუბლიკის საგარეო საქმეთა მინისტრი, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Estonia.
Thank you. Thank you, and thank you, Madam President, for receiving us. We didn't come here to give lectures what Georgian people must do or not, because in democracies, for that, there are elections taking place. And I'm sure that Georgian people, they know what is their future. We came here as friends, true friends, and not to advocate, but just saying facts out. We know exactly that living in the neighboring of Russia is a very dangerous place. And unfortunately, there is no choices whether to be in the middle. Russia has put all the neighboring countries in the positions that we must make a choice, whether to be towards freedom or under Russia or together with Russia. So that's the choice. I'm here today because Estonia cares a lot about Georgia, historically and as well today. And we care about the Georgian people. We are somehow the best friends for Georgians, historically, and you know that. We have supported Georgian reforms for decades, and we have shared the view with Georgia that the best guarantee for democratic and prosperous Georgia is the membership of the European Union. This law is violating human rights and civic freedoms, and everything that EU stands for. This law is a symbol, the symbol of the choice between Russia or European Union. This law is taking Georgia further than away from the European Union path. This is a U-turn to which the European Union will certainly react. EU integration is a merit-based process. When you reform, you get benefits, such as visa freedom, or above all, possibility to become the EU member. When Georgia backtracks, you will lose those things. And in this case of human rights violations, repressions, the EU will normally introduce sanctions. But we are sure, and we share the Georgian people will, that Georgia's rightful place is in the EU. It is a principled choice, and it is up to Georgian people to decide what kind of future they will choose. We are with you. Thank you.
ისლანდიის რესპუბლიკის საგარეო საქმეთა მინისტრი, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Iceland.
Thank you. And thank you, Madam President, for receiving us. We come here to show that we are all willing to demonstrate solidarity with Georgia's Euro-Atlantic aspirations. I come from a small state that every day enjoys the benefits of safeguarding the values that we fear are being threatened with the legislation and what it really means. In particular, I'm here to say that the values of freedom, human rights, democracy, and rule of law are not a price of admission into the Euro-Atlantic community, but the very real keys to increased prosperity and peace. We've learned this from our own experience and been fortunate to work closely with the Baltic states and seen firsthand how their journey has brought prosperity in their societies. We've made this journey out of respect for Georgia, its leadership, and its people. We hope we'll be able to count Georgia as a part of the world that sticks up for the liberties and rights that are being attacked by Russia, and that is actually reflected in over 85% support of the people of Georgia supporting the transatlantic path. Thank you.
ლატვიის რესპუბლიკის საგარეო საქმეთა მინისტრი, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Latvia.
Gamarjoba Sekretvelo, and it's my pleasure to be back here. We are here as friends, as the closest friends of Georgia. We are not here to become part of your internal political process. I want to be very clear about that. Since Georgia's European and NATO aims are established in its constitution, since more than 80% of Georgians support the objective of joining the EU, we have invested as the Baltic states and as Nordic Baltic group enormous amounts of political capital around the EU and NATO table, financial, political, and other capital in supporting Georgia's objective. And I want to be very clear that this interest will remain. We want and we see Georgia as part of Europe and as part of the EU. Its European path is important to us. The same as Ukraine's European path is important to us, Albania's and other countries' European path is important to us. We are very clear also in the same time with the concerns that we have. The joining of the EU is not just a political objective. It requires very practical steps of adjusting the country, its legal system, its justice system, its law enforcement system, and many others to the European standards. And that is not involvement in internal politics. That are European standards that we all had to fulfill when joining the EU. So it's nothing anti-Georgian, it's nothing anti-government into the messages that we bring. It's what we did ourselves, and that's what is required of all the candidate states. And in this respect, it's very difficult to understand why this particular law on the transparency of foreign influence had to be adopted now. Yes, we heard the message of veto, and we do hope that it is used, this time is used, for a full reconsideration of what it requires to be a member state of the EU. So this is our message today. It's also the package of other laws that we have a concern. We have a concern how the demonstrators are treated. The right to peaceful assembly is a basic human right, and all the governments have to ensure that. So this is the main objective of our visit. Friends who are very open and who have vested interests in Georgian future, but we also want to be clear that there are practical steps that need to be followed. Okay.
No question?